Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen. Guys, we are in Old Firm Week. We are building up towards the big game on Saturday across the city at our city rivals stadium at Celtic Park in a massive Titanic Scottish Premier League clash. Obviously, loads of news surrounding Rangers today as we build up towards that Old Firm game. Obviously, the main news today surrounds Rangers now former chairman Douglas Park. Obviously, Douglas Park was someone who I think divided the fan base. He was thanked by some today and derided by others as he decided to step down as Rangers chairman. Quite why he decided now was the time to do that is still unclear. There is obviously no definitive statement. As a number of Rangers podcasts have said tonight, and as I will echo, for this channel as well, we are not in the know. We do not know people at the club. We do not know why he has stepped down at this stage. We can only speculate and report as we, what we read in the media, what we read on websites, and what we read on social media. So Douglas Park has been the Rangers chairman, as we know, for 3 years now. He took the position in March 2020 and shepherded the club, obviously, through a very difficult period during the COVID lockdowns. He also, during his tenure, saw Rangers to the Scottish Premiership title in 2021. There was Scottish Cup triumph last year, and of course the run to the Europa League final. Who can forget that one? It's his vice chairman, John Bennett, who takes over from him. Now, obviously that seems to be the natural progression. John Bennett is also the man who, whenever an interview is required from the board for Rangers TV, it tends to be John Bennett that gives the interviews. Douglas Park very rarely, if ever, speaks to the media or speaks to the fans. It doesn't seem to be his thing. He likes to keep himself to himself. Park said after it was agreed that he would step down, he said that it's been a great honour to serve the club as a director and chairman. I am glad we have stabilised and strengthened the club. It's now time for me to hand over the baton to a new chairman for the next stage in the club's development. Obviously, this new chairman is, like I said, John Bennett. Obviously, this comes hot on the heels of the fact that Rangers obviously offered new shares yesterday to the value of about 1.7 to 1.9 million. Odd timing indeed that announcement comes out and then Park seems to step down. Obviously, conspiracy theorists are running amok with their ideas, their theories, and I think they're obviously putting two and two together and getting 5 on that one. As they are with a lot of the conspiracy theories they come up with as regards why things happen. Other people obviously suggesting that this share issue and Park stepping down is something to do with financial issues at the club. I don't think that's the case either. If the club was in some sort of financial difficulty, it would need certainly more than 1.7 to 1.9 million, and there are certainly better ways indeed of raising that money rather than the share issue. Others have suggested, obviously, the share issue, just going back to that for a minute, is purely to pay off loans or transfer loans to equity. And the money that is in the club from, obviously, the Calvin Bassey deal, for example, the Nathan Patterson money, the Europa League money, etc., is obviously been ring fenced for player acquisitions and player development, squad development this summer. Obviously, Park's departure leaves that question, doesn't it, why he has gone. And like I said earlier, he is certainly someone who divides opinion amongst the fan base. There is a core of fans who think that Park has done a great job for Rangers. He stabilised the club. He helped bring the club back to sound, solvent financial status. He saw the club through what was a very difficult period of COVID. The amount of businesses and clubs that struggled in and coming out of the COVID pandemic is well documented, and Rangers have certainly come out in terms of that in a strong financial position. Obviously, as well, the late releasing of the club accounts as well, obviously, has caused a great deal of gossip amongst fans, writers, etc. So Douglas Park is gone. Like I said, I think, Union Bears and others may be grateful for that, whereas some others may thank him for his service to the club. And we wish, obviously, John Bennett all the very best in his appointment to the chairman. And we obviously wait to see how he runs the club, what he changes, and the way he does things at Rangers now that he is the chairman. Well, that's the main news tonight. Obviously, about Douglas Park stepping down. Now, like I said, we're not in the know here. We're just guessing. We're just putting across theories. So, if you've got, I'm sure, please don't take as gospel anything we say on that. But, obviously the truth of the matter is he's gone. The truth of the matter is that Bennett is now the new chairman, and the Rangers did obviously offer shares, and their accounts are late. But this is a normal thing for business, apparently, especially in football. But that's sort of the fact of this. Everything else around it is just kind of what we have sort of gleaned, what we have analysed, what we have taken from media that cover Glasgow Rangers. Now, Glasgow Rangers also made an appointment today. They appointed a former Southampton, Bournemouth and Portsmouth youth team coach. Obviously, especially linked with the Southampton youth setup. Southampton obviously very famous for bringing through and developing players. Like, for example, Theo Walcott, for example, James Ward-Prowse, etc., etc. The gentleman's name is Luke Middlewick. He tweeted this out earlier on his Twitter. Pleased to announce that I've taken a position with Rangers FC within the IFC Youth Recruitment Department of the club. Excited to help the club move forwards. It's felt that Middlewick's connections down south, especially on the south coast and London area, are very valuable indeed, and will enable Rangers to obviously, talent spot and talent acquire from south of the border. Obviously Zach Lovelace was a player that was acquired from south of the border and is a very promising, very talented player, and someone obviously who the club have got exceptionally high hopes for in the future. There have even been some calls to some extent for him to actually be brought up into the first team squad this season, although many feel that it is way too early for that to happen. So, Middlewick comes in. He's certainly someone who has that track record of being able to find and recruit some gems from Southern England, and I think that is the hope that in that role within the Rangers Youth Recruitment Department, he can help advise and bring in talent from all over the British Isles, and obviously especially from south of the border. He's certainly someone that seems to be clearly trusted to do that and has done a good job in the past at clubs like Bournemouth, Southampton and Portsmouth. Now, moving towards the Old Firm game on Saturday, there is, of course, a lot of discussion, conversations around the lineups and who will start, who will be on the bench and who will play where. Obviously, one of the primary discussions is around the fitness of Belgian star Nicolas Raskin. Raskin, who has not played now for over a month after a thigh injury, obviously missed the Dundee United game at Ibrox last Saturday. Now, pre that game, Michael Beale did say that Raskin was expected to resume training this week. However, there's obviously been no further news emerged from the club as regards that. Obviously, we are very anxious that Raskin starts and plays. I think the mistake that Michael Beale made in that Viaplay Cup final was not starting Cantwell and Raskin. I think, once they came on, it did help to change the game to some extent. They are, very, very talented players, and I think it is felt that Raskin on the pitch would be a far better option than going to Parkhead and starting with the likes of John Lundstrom and Glenn Kamara, for example. Raskin provides that energy, he provides that control, he provides that dynamism to the midfield, that go forward, that really puts them on the front foot. And obviously, many people have said, and I 100% agree with the fact that, when we go to Parkhead on Saturday, it's going to be a case of needing to get on the front foot straight away, needing to get in their faces, needing to press them high, needing to get after them and make their lives as uncomfortable as possible. And having Nicolas Raskin back will certainly help that. So, we need to obviously keep our eyes open and our ears open to what is coming out of the club as regards Raskin. I think a lot more will become clear once obviously Michael Beale has spoken to the media at some point this week, obviously before the game, whether that be Thursday or Friday. So this obviously is the situation as we currently present it with Nicolas Raskin. We are obviously unsure whether he will start. It is to be certainly hoped that he does. I, for one, certainly don't want to see John Lundstrom anywhere near the starting lineup on Saturday. As a player, I think he's really gone backwards in his development, gone backwards in the way he plays. His passes sideways and backwards far too much slows the game down, and I think it was really seen in that Viaplay Cup final that, the fact that we had Lundstrom and we had Kamara gave us no urgency and handed the impetus solely to Celtic and allowed their midfield to start to dominate. And obviously going into the game on Saturday, it's really important that the Rangers midfield take over, they dominate the game. And I think if we had a midfield of the likes of Raskin, the likes of Cantwell, and the likes of Jack, that would certainly give us the opportunity to really develop this team and move this team forward and really challenge Celtic. And obviously, these next 3 games been absolutely vital, and Raskin, I think, is a vital part of that. Now, another day, what happens? Yes, you guessed it. It's another Alfie rumour. Alfredo Morelos and his future is the subject of multiple press inches in the newspapers north of the border, obviously in Scotland, in the Daily Record, in the Scotsman, in Glasgow Times, in numerous papers, and in numerous English papers as well. There is multiple column inches given over to the future of Alfredo Morelos. Obviously, the Colombian hitman is certainly someone who has been a valuable part of this team, but obviously in recent times doesn't seem to have been as interested or as on his game and seems to be very much out of form at this moment in time. Obviously, the game against Dundee United, he didn't score, didn't really get involved as much as perhaps he could have done, and really didn't threaten at all against a very poor Dundee United team. However, English Premier League clubs do seem to be circling and seem to be keen on taking the Colombian to the Premier League next term. Obviously, we've heard that he's been linked with Aston Villa, for example. Now, apparently, 2 other teams have come in for him and are interested. One of those being Everton, which may explain that Everton top that he was wearing when he was in Colombia. And the fact, obviously, that his Colombian teammate, Yerry Mina, plays for them may be a pulling factor for Morelos to consider Everton. The third team is a London team, which, again, it could be a pulling factor for Morelos, and that is Crystal Palace, who apparently are interested in acquiring the Colombian hitman. So could that be another possible destination? But it certainly seems that those English clubs are starting to circle and look at Morelos as a potential Premier League striker. Could this be the case? Now, that's obviously very sad that, that if he was under contract still, we could perhaps acquire a tidy sum of money from these English Premier League clubs, given obviously the amount of money they have. But obviously with Alfie out of contract, he is free to go for absolutely nothing. Now, obviously, the last thing I want to talk about is the B team game from Sunday. Rangers going down 3-1 in what was a pretty disastrous game that ended with Rangers down to 8 men. Obviously, Adam Devine was sent off, and probably quite rightly so, for that lunge. But the sending off that got it all started was the sending off of Rangers B-team goalkeeper Baudanakis. He was allegedly he allegedly handled the ball outside the area. Now, looking at reviews, looking at slowed down things, it seems that was a bad call by the official. Now, that has been further backed up today because his red card has been overturned. But a little bit too late, obviously, with the fact that this set in motion a whole series of events because of that sending off of Baudanakis. So what can I say? At the end of the day, you've got referees who are just not up to the job, and I think refereeing standards in Scotland are something that desperately need to be addressed, that desperately need to be looked at, and how we can improve that. With the prospect of Kevin Clancy refereeing the Old Firm game on Sunday, Clancy is not a great referee, is he? He is prone to mistakes. He is prone to making stupid decisions. He is prone to throwing the yellow card around a little bit. And whilst VAR can help with those decisions like offside and penalties, etc., it is a situation where he can't help with other things like booking, sendings off, tackles for fouls, etc. Now, there is something does need to be done about refereeing standards in Scotland, and whether that means that referees go professional and more training is given to them, who knows? But it's certainly something that is definitely needed in in Scottish football. Well, guys, obviously our focus this week is on the Old Firm, is on beating them, is on smashing them, is on giving them that bloody nose and sending a signal to them that we are Rangers and we are not going anywhere as of yet. Thank you so much for choosing to watch Glasgow Rangers Nation, this news update. Thank you for your subscriptions, your support, your comments, Victoria. And I love reading your comments. Please keep those coming in. Please hit that sub, ring that notification bell. It's the only way you get to keep up to date with all the daily news coming out of the club. In addition to that, you can find us in several places on social media. If you want to keep up with obviously what is going on at the club and what is going on with the channel, at GRN1872 on Twitter, Glasgow Rangers Nation on Instagram, Glasgow Rangers Nation official on Facebook. That is a group on Facebook. That group has hit 150 members today from a group that was just recently launched. So if you'd like to join that, it'd be great to send a request. And either myself or Victoria Searle will obviously a preview. Now, we've got 2 pods coming up this week with myself and Victoria. Looking forward to speaking to you in the live chat, get you involved in the live chat, get your thoughts, comments, and questions. Well, fellow Rangers fans, thank you so much for tuning in and choosing to watch Glasgow Rangers Nation. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. As always, I'll be back to speak to you again very soon here on Glasgow Rangers Nation.